Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. Don't say I don't do nice things. One of your favorites is back. And what a welcome moment to talk about an Arsenal team that actually wins things. Let's rock and roll.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Squad Central. For those listening on Apple and Spotify, thanks for making us part of your day. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss epic shows like this with the legend that is Suzy Wrack from The Guardian. Bosh! Come on, people.
Can't hide the round of applause.
It's our StreamYard clap. I stole that. Albert
Love
does
it.
It. He's like StreamYard clap. It's our
You've
version,
got it in there.
You know. Yeah.
Effects.
We got it in there. Welcome, squaddies. Thank you so much. Hopefully you haven't recovered from the Carabao Cup final. I don't expect you to, and I don't want you to. I want you to live and breathe it. We're going to get Suzy's take on it as well, but we've got a massive game coming up tomorrow night against, I'll say it, the Scum. And it is huge. It's huge. This is so huge. This is, I think, we're going to get stuck into it with Suzy. This is the first time ever there's been a City rivalry in a Champions League knockout phase, but we'll get Suzy on that. Suzy, welcome. How are you? You look fabulous. Did you watch the Carabao Cup final? It was terrible, wasn't it? It was painful.
It was difficult. And I caught the first, I want to say, half an hour on the radio driving back from Whipsnade Zoo with my son and my 5-year-old nephew and 3-year-old niece. And was racing back, and we left a little bit later than planned, so I didn't get the full experience in front of the TV, but I'm probably glad I didn't, because actually, to be fair, that first period, because I've watched it back, was not too bad. The first 20-30 minutes we were kind of okay and looked pretty comfortable and in control. I just disappointing with the way it sort of just crumbled. There was no real fight, there was no guts to that performance. There was no like clinical edge to it. You know, when you're playing a team like City, as we're going to discuss when we talk about the Women's Champions League, and Arsenal playing Chelsea, like, you get so few chances, you have to take those chances. So not making the most of that sort of early game dominance, I think, really proved costly. I'm desperate to see Odegaard back. I think we're really, really missing him. Saka just looks tired, and I really hope he finds a bit of consistency and form in the next week or so. But it's the big worry for me is that this ruptures the momentum that we had going and confidence a bit. That's my fear. It could flip the other way and put fire in the belly, and that's what you hope for. But I'm just worried that it goes the way of knocking confidence.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting that you said is it going the other way. I think that's what some Arsenal fans are missing today, is that there is a possibility it could go the other way. And the only reason, I'm not trying to promote that, you know, or say it's going to happen, but history tells us that it will. So at what point do you believe that they really can get it over the line? And that's what I woke up grappling with today, is can I even trust them to get the Premier League over the line at this point?
Oh, I know what you mean. I just look back on that season where Leicester won the league and think we are the team that gifted Leicester the league, essentially. We are the team that has perennially in recent, I say recent years, recent decades, kind of thrown it away at the critical moment. And that's the fear, right? And we've all got it, regardless of what the lead is at the top of the table, regardless of how well we're doing in the Champions League. And you just, it's great to see some of these withdrawals from national teams for this international break, because I feel like that is, a good move, and it's good to see us sort of playing politics and tactics like that in a way that Alex Ferguson would have done, but we've never really done. And I just really hope that that's enough to do it. But you can't
100%.
help but have the fear, right? You can't help it.
No, you can't. Well, let's switch gears. And we talked a little bit about our women's at the start of the season. Hasn't gone particularly well in the league as we had hoped, and we'll get to that. But there is a massive game tomorrow, defending the crown. Yes, Gunners. Look at them on screen, champions of Europe. Battered everyone on the way there, including two of the greatest teams of all time. And tomorrow they could destroy Chelsea's dream. Game one of destroying Chelsea's dream because they just want to beat us in Europe and they've never been able to do it. Suzy, this is huge.
Absolutely massive. And I don't really know what to expect from this game. I mean, you look at the League Cup final with Chelsea and United, and I mean, there was never a better time for that Man United team to beat Chelsea in a major fixture. And the fact that Chelsea are still able to get it over the line regardless is hugely impressive, particularly given the amount of injuries they've got, the players at the Asia Cup, all of that. Obviously, we've got players at the Asia Cup too, or had them. They're all arriving back, but none of them are going to be included. And then, yeah, it's just so hard to read for that reason. We like Arsenal should win this on paper, right? Like with in the better form. We're coming off the back of a big win. They're coming off the back of a draw and some more drop points. Champions League next season is at risk if things sort of go the way we expect in the league. So there's a lot of pressure on them to really, really step up and perform. And we've got the lack of pressure of having done it already, and that kind of relief of, we know how to do it. We know how to get it over the line in this tournament. But it's Chelsea and they are so good at winning.
They really are good at winning, which is annoying. I've just thought to myself, like going into this game, you talk about league form, you talk about their pedigree, their history, but we're the ones with the pedigree and the history in this competition. We've been talking, a lot about legacy over the last few weeks here in the hope that the men can replicate what the women are doing. We've been talking a lot about Vic Akers as well, the great Vic Akers, and then seeing what our Arsenal women have gone on to do with Lionesses and stuff like that. And of course, the Chelsea team have a lot of overachievers on the international spectrum as well. But going into this, I know that you spoke to one player in particular that I'd love to be a fly on the wall, your conversation with the legend, the growing legend here of Alessia Russo. And I love her as a player. She's so talented, but I've also hoped that she's a really good seed. She looks like a good person. Could totally become an Arsenal legend. Talk to us, Suzy, about Alessia a little bit, and then I'll let the boys jump in and take over here.
Oh, she is the nicest person, which is nice when when you find out that the person that you kind of think seems like a nice person is a great player actually is. I've interviewed her a few times now over the years, and what was really interesting for me was I actually felt like she felt a lot more sort of at home in an interview than she's ever felt, and comfortable in herself and sort of having an opinion and just like more grown up in that sense, whereas when you're younger you're a little bit nervous to say something that even fairly uncontroversial but is just a little bit more political, not necessarily literally political, but footballing terms or whatever it may be. So it was really interesting. She's great, and the interview goes up literally in 10 minutes of us midway through this record, basically in 10 minutes time of the recording. So it'll be up by the time this hits people's ears. But yeah, she's fantastic, and I was really chatting to her quite a lot about the mentality of being a centre forward or playing in the number 10. And it was actually, we did the interview last Thursday, so it's before the Carabao Cup final, before the West Ham game, etc. But what was interesting is it, in many respects, it applies to sort of the Carabao Cup game, because on the men's side, because we were talking a lot about chances, and when you get so few chances against big teams, how do you cope with the pressure of that as a forward, but maintain the knowledge that you also have to be alert, because it could be your only chance, or it could be one of like 2 or 3 chances and that's it. And then balancing that with also keeping the pressure off if you miss a chance, and recognize that you can get more, and you have faith in the team and your teammates around you to do that. And she was just so interesting on that. Like really thoughtful. A lot of things like that, she said, has really come with age and experience, learning not to snatch at chances in the same way. That's something you still are developing all the time. That you kind of are so reliant on the issue of trust in your teammates to make sure you're going to be back in the same position if you've missed a big chance, and that they have the trust in you to deliver the next time the ball goes into that space or whatever it may be. And it was just, yeah, just super interesting. She's a great person. We talked a bit about her foundation. We talked about her family, who, you know, I've met a few times, her brothers, both her brothers and her parents. They're all wonderful. Like, they're such a tight-knit group. Her dad has literally been to every single game she's ever played. They are so lovely, and she's just really normal, nice, wants to give back as much as possible, and then also has this like steely will to win beneath that. And you wonder how the two like marry up, like how players can be so lovely off the pitch but then have this like harder determination. She said she loves the grit. She loves, because I was asking her again about the 9 and 10 switching up as well, and she like playing in the 9 for England and a little bit for Arsenal, but more in the 10 for Arsenal now. And she was saying that she'll play anywhere. She doesn't care where she plays. But that she does, like I was saying, it has always seemed to me, whether you're playing whichever position you're playing in, that you really love all aspects of the game. So it's not just about scoring and assists, but you enjoy the tracking back, you enjoy the press, you enjoy like the build-up play, holding up the ball, that kind of stuff. And it almost seems to me when watching her that she gets as much enjoyment out of that as scoring. And she's like, don't get me wrong, scoring is the best feeling ever, but I do love that gritty side. I love when it's tough. I love getting stuck into those things. And I just, yeah, it's great to like hear a player talk about the things that you have wondered about them, and whether that is true or aligns with the way they see themselves and what they think of the way they play. But yeah, she's awesome. She's great.
Brilliant. I love that. Before the guys will jump in, but you just jump in after me here, guys, because one of the things I've always felt, and Suzy, you and I have talked about this with the years that I've covered the US women's national team. I was interested on the comment that you made about she's feeling a little more confident and braver to talk about other things. You know, as she grows, as her legend grows, and her positioning in the England team and in Arsenal. Because with Arsenal, in a way, she's earning the right for it to be her team, right? Because it's Leah, it's Kim, it's Beth, but Alessia is kind of like, I think, the first signing of Albert, that the turning of Arsenal, if you like. But I like the fact that the US women's national team are vocal, and they say, you know, they're fearless in what they say. I think sometimes maybe let's focus on the football. But talking to Emma Hayes as well over the last few months, and her influence in letting them be, I think she's done a really good job, and she does a good job of managing players, their personalities, you know, being vocal. So I'm curious as well, Albert, with Renee Slegers as well, and the confidence that she's giving her. But yeah, I know, Albert, you are a huge fan of Alessia and what she's been doing at the Arsenal and the Lionesses.
Yeah, she's gone from being someone who took over the mantle of Ellen White, being a good striker, to be, in my humble opinion, a world class striker. I'm actually quite surprised, if I'm going to be honest, in terms of probably more so under Renee. She's 27, I believe. She's Alessia Russo. I'm not saying she can't play the 10 role, but I think maybe that's the recruitment thing on the Arsenal side of it, in terms of they may not have got a player in that position, because to me she's too good a player at the top end of the pitch to be playing within that role. Because for me, that's something I look at with Harry Kane in the men's game, where he's got older but he developed that kind of 10 role. I didn't think it would even come as soon as it has done with her. So Suzy, I guess my question to you is, first, it's a pleasure to meet you, Suzy. I'm so rude to be, sorry. But also, how do you see that development of her game, in terms of, do you prefer her to see her right up top as the 9, or how do you feel in terms of her playing a role in the 10 at Arsenal more so?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I completely agree with it's interesting, isn't it? Because I completely agree with you. in that, like, I think someone of her quality should be in the number 9 and like thriving there. And almost she's a victim of how good she is, because she's better than most of the options we've got in the number 10.
Yeah.
Given the makeup of the squad at the moment and the players available and things, obviously there are better 10s there, but in terms of who is available at the moment and kind of how things slot together and the fact that you want her in the team, like, there is some sense there. So I kind of get it. And I think there are benefits, right? And it probably improves her overall game. And I was asking about this as well, in that, like, you know, when you're playing in the 9 and then you switch to playing in the 10 for a bit, like, you build up an understanding of exactly what the number 10 wants to see their number 9 doing in front of them, and vice versa, right? Like, if you're in the 9, you know, you build up an understanding of where the 10 is going to be, what kind of ball they're going to play, what they're looking at, what the pitch looks like in front of them. You get a more like rounded view of the position from the outside of it as well as the inside, and like on both sides. So I think there's that, in that, at least, even if it's a temporary thing, playing in the number 10, I think is going to improve her as a 9. And make her think a little bit differently about it. Because one of the things I think, it's not a flaw of her game in the 9, because I actually think it's a huge like boost, but like, she does come deep a lot and she does go wide a lot, and sometimes we're missing someone in the middle, and I don't think that's necessarily, like I say, a bad thing. I think it's more about the team and Renee and the coaching and how they make that work by like, you know, another player sees her drop out wide, who's then in the box, right? Like, those kind of discussions need to, and I assume they do, take place and happen. And, you know, if she comes deep, who is moving forward to fill the gap up top, right? Like, how do they get the best out of her? Because I think that is a real big asset to her game. At the same time, I remember Ellen White saying that one of the things that Phil Neville, for all his, you know, flaws and things, said to her that really helped elevate her game was that she needed to stay within the width of the post more, and actually like get in a position where she's going to be the one putting the ball in the back of the net. And it made a huge difference to her game, and she looked a different beast afterwards. I mean, she was fantastic before that, but like, just in terms of England, she was then on another level, I think. And there's an argument to say that you could say that Alessia should do that, but I would rather see a team adapt to her and find the players around her that are able to, you know, kind of come inside when she's out wide, or breaking in from the wing when she's dropping deep, whatever it may be. So that's what I would prefer, and that's what I think would make a better team, because it's less predictable. But who knows? But yeah, I think she's a number 9. It's not terrible for her to be in the 10 temporarily, but I don't think it's a permanent fix, and I wouldn't really like to see it as one.
I totally agree. Again, I think this, for me, in terms of Arsenal, we might cover it in terms of, me and Demian and Sophie talk about this a lot, in terms of Arsenal's balance centrally in the midfield area, which I think for me has been an issue for the last couple of years. But no, it's great to hear your thoughts on Alessia.
Love it. Well, for me, Demian, I love, what I love is fearlessness, and I've always felt like Alessia has that in her, and I've also felt like that fearlessness kind of circled back with Renee becoming the head coach of the Arsenal. And there's no doubt that last season there was something magical, because these women had no right to win the Champions League. I don't think, anyway. But yet you've got these players, the emergence, the continual growth of Alessia. And then, of course, you've got the young upstart who's just been sensational, Olivia, since joining. Tomorrow, huge game against Chelsea. This fearlessness, and Susie said it at the top of the show, we've got nothing to fear. We've proven it. We've done it. All the pressure is on them. So hopefully Alessia and the girls go into this feeling a little bit more chilled and relaxed, Demian. But I don't know if we want to talk about starting 11s or injuries, or who's coming back from international break feeling a little, poorly. Of course, Leah is hugely important and continues to struggle with injuries and stuff. But Demian, what's your take? What do you want to ask the legend, Suzy Wrack?
Oh my God, I have so many questions. First of all, as always, Suzy, so great to see you. Great to see you in person in London. It was beautiful. And thank you for gracing us with your press. I don't even know if gracing is a verb in English, but thank you for being here. To touch on a thing that you guys were talking about.
Venezuelan, I love it. Go on.
I agree with the conversation about Alessia being a versatile player. I particularly don't necessarily agree with the idea of just because somebody can, and I'm not saying this is what you guys are saying, just because somebody can occupy a space of set number of position, it doesn't mean that they play that position. If you play 4-4-2 and you have somebody on the right wing and they don't play like David Beckham, they're not a right winger, right? They just occupy that space. I think that the true number 10 that we have at that club is Beth Mead. I think she has the vision, the technique, the poise, the fearlessness to play in that position as a flair player, as a freedom. I don't think Alessia Russo has in her locker to be free on anywhere on the pitch, where I believe that a player like Beth Mead can and should for a lot of reasons. So to answer your question, Sophie, I think I would have Beth at number 10 plus 10 more players, especially against Chelsea. I just think there's something about
10 more
her.
players or 10 more Beths?
No, I mean, I think from a skill set perspective, I think you need players that are going to excel at their positions, like an Emily Fox, or obviously a Katie McCabe, and things of that nature. So I guess my question to you, Susie, would be, how do you see Beth's role in, ironically, the number 10 position that you guys are talking about, in her future, the short-term future of the club, as it relates to setting ourselves up for success with her skill set?
I don't think it's a bad idea. I've never seen it tried. So I'd love to see experimented there. I wouldn't see it done in a game of this magnitude. Like, I feel like it's something they need to test and try out regularly and things, and in some of the lower key games or pre-season or whatever. But there's definitely potential there for it to be great. What I would really like to see is Beth in the number 9, because that's where she started.
Yeah, she's great.
And was so potent, right? Like, what was it? I just pulled it up. 66 goals in 82 games for Sunderland before she joins Arsenal. Like, I think a lot of people thought she was going to sort of go the Thierry Henry route and have that shift out to the wing and then be brought back in once she had sort of kind of worked on those kind of skills out wide, and then kind of been given that chance, be given that chance in the middle, which hasn't happened. I would love to see her get a shot for Arsenal or England through the middle, because whenever she comes inside, you kind of see just how effective she can be in that role. So for me, that's the thing that I would be most interested to see. But like, I think there's a point in that she has a lot of grit and a lot of fight, and having someone with that alongside the vision in the number 10 role is a good shout. So the profile of her as a player, it does work. And I also don't particularly like the starting both Alessia and Stina, which obviously has happened a fair bit. I think when it's, if you're going to play Beth through the middle in front of Alessia, or Olivia Smith through the middle instead of out wide, like those kind of things I think are better. But there's something about Russo and Stina on the pitch at the same time that I'd like. It has worked, but it's worked in games that we should win. And I don't think it's necessarily worked in the big games where that's happened. And I think part of it is it's reduced the effectiveness of Stina from the bench, which obviously last season we saw was super effective. And she has an ability to, when she's on side, to stretch play. It, like, when legs are tiring and stuff, I think is really intelligent. And we saw that super effective in the Champions League last season. And then at the start of this season, I think we saw the opposite happening. So I kind of almost don't really mind who is in what position to a certain extent. It's more like, how do we maintain a really effective subs bench, and what's the best combination of players? Because I don't think we've got the perfect number 10. I just don't think we've got it at the moment. I think we need that player.
I was going to ask you, because you just brought it up right then, just to jump in. Does Renee know? I don't mean to be. I'm not being disrespectful to Renee at all here, but does she know her best 11? I know with injuries and stuff, it makes it harder. But do you think this season she truly knows her best 11? Or do you think it is a case of adapt or die with injuries and stuff? I'm not sure in the league at the beginning, she kind of knew what her best 11 was. Maybe I'm talking out my rear end.
No, I think like there's a point, right? Like I think she knows, as you know, we probably all do, sat looking at the squad list for Arsenal, for England, for Chelsea, whoever, who on paper the best starting 11 is, maybe bar like one or two players you might go, oh, this one or this one kind of thing. But like you say, I think that like a season of of ups and downs, of injuries, of players coming in and out of form, then kind of throws that out the window. And I am loath to go like, I think Renee's super intelligent. When I've sat down with her, like her footballing knowledge, her attention to detail, her passion, like the way she describes the game is just fascinating. And I think she's like a very, very, very good coach. And I think it is true, and it's a cliche, but we don't see, like, you know, they'll always say we don't see what happens in training. And I think there is a big element of that, in the, for all of the time I can advocate to the ends of the earth for a particular player that I really think deserves a chance, I've got no idea what they've done in training that week or the week before that, right? Like I can ask a few people, I can get a rough idea, but there's always going to be some kind of agenda attached to that, whether it be a player that would be irritated if that player is in the team because it means they're not, whether it be like friends, whatever it could be. So I think there's that element of it, in that it's really, really hard to know exactly what happens in training. And yes, we get obviously a very, very good impression of what a player can do in a match when we see them in a match. But if they've had a terrible week of training, who am I to say they should definitely be starting, you know, when I've not seen that or experienced it? So I kind of like, maybe I'm getting too nice in my old age. I'm like hesitant to be overly critical of any manager, particularly over those kind of decisions, because of personnel decisions, because like we just don't see the full picture. We're not with them day in, day out. We have no idea what the conversations have been like, what falling outs are like, what attitude is like, any of that stuff. So I'm always kind of like caveat my opinion with a like, but I'm not there every day, you know. So that's the thing that I would throw in, is that it's just so hard to know. Like we could all say this is the perfect starting 11, and we'd probably all have very, very similar starting 11s for Arsenal, and then we could also say, could this team play like against Chelsea, and it would be a no because most of those players will probably be injured or whatever. So like that, right. I think we should get too caught up in the what is the dream, because the dream never works out across a season. But I feel like it's more like groups of players. So like, have we got a group of centre backs that like I have faith in? Have we got a group of wingers that I have faith in? Like that when someone comes off the bench, they can make a difference. And I feel like last season, that's where we benefited in the Champions League, is because of injuries and stuff. There was quite a lot of rotation and things, and that meant that like everyone really came together as a group, and everyone had played minutes, and everyone had a bit of experience under their belt, and everyone was fighting for each other. And the difficulty of that run also then contributed to that, and the length of the games and all of those kind of things meant that there had to be quite a bit of rotation. So I feel like it's more happiness with the groups, and I think that's the problem I have with the number 10, in that like I don't think we have the perfect group of players that can play that position at a world-class level, whereas most of the other areas of the pitch, I do feel like we've got that.
Can I say something to that? Sorry to interrupt or jump ahead of you, Albert. With that, it's lovely insight. I just think also, how does Arsenal Football Club, right, the reference and the greatest women's team of all time historically, how do we not have the perfect 10 and the perfect this or that in an era where we have the most money, or a lot of money, we are the most lucrative team, the most fans, and all that other stuff? To me, that sounds it's kind of crazy. I'm not saying you sound crazy. I'm saying that idea. And or when we talk about, like you mentioned the center backs, for example, if it's not Steph and Leah, my anxiety goes through the roof. or when I see Mariona Caldente, who for all intents and purposes can be the 10, or Kim Little, she's getting the ball back from 5 yards from Steph Catley or from Emily Fox. That blows my mind. And, you know, like you, maybe I'm getting a little very sentimental, and I don't like, even in my blog, I don't like, you know, going too hard on players and even Renee, because I'm so thankful for her. But I just feel like there's something kind of missing. There's something, I don't know if it's the transition. I think it's a weird season. I'm like, my heart isn't kind of caught in two minds. And it just boggles my mind that we don't have the perfect, you know, or better than average. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I completely agree. Like, we should be spending money to get the best. And there's a hesitancy there. You know, it's been widely reported that we've missed out on players because of that hesitancy. You know, we were in for Kira Walsh, for example. Obviously, she's not a 10, but like a really important player when we knew probably Leah Volti was going to be moving on at some point. Like, there's numerous players that we've missed out on. Naomi Girma, we were priced out of. We could afford it, but the problem with Arsenal is it's got a very strict wage structure, and I do agree with wage structures to a certain extent, but there comes a point where the game is developing so rapidly and the money is changing so rapidly that you have to adapt that quite quickly, and I don't think they're doing it fast enough, and I think there is a bit of a hesitancy to spend, and I don't know if Renee is being given all the resource that she would like, if, like, you know, she was sort of given free rein. So like, I think there is a problem there, and you hope that we, you know, do some decent business in the summer. I think the Champions League almost like papered over the cracks of the problems in this team. The fact, and I think
100%.
Arsenal do have an awareness of that. I think there is an awareness of that, and the fact that, you know, there's going to be like 8 players who are over 30 or over by the summer. So like, I think there is a recognition of all of those things now, that there does need to be a bit of a squad overhaul. So I think we will see like more spending, but I think it's been a little bit negligent last summer to not have as much business done as we could have done. You know, having Olivia Smith and Taylor Hines come in is great, but that is not enough. So yeah, I think there's been a little bit of complacency there, and they've been a little bit slow to move and
Suzy,
keep pace.
Albert did a show literally after the Champions League final. He did a show on our channel, and it was all about strengthen from a position of now where we're at
100%.
success.
Strength.
Yeah, completely agree. Who doesn't want to come to the European Champions, right? Like, straight after you've won the title in such phenomenal style. And now you've got a situation where it's who wants to come to the team that keeps slipping away in the league fairly early on in the season, right? Like, if we end up with a Champions League trophy, great. If we end up with an FA Cup, great. But they are massive asks from the position we are at the quarterfinal stage to say that we're like kind of anywhere near that is like a little bit pie in the sky at this stage. So yeah, like, we could be in a position where we finish trophyless and we are then less attractive. We're so lucky in that we've got the benefit of the Emirates and it being sold out and so regularly, and such massive attendances even for the smaller games and things like that, because that is such a huge pool. But that's not enough in and of itself. Players want to win silverware, and you hope that they can convince them that come here and you could be the difference in helping us do that. But yeah, I agree. Position of strength is when you make the change from it. I think everyone thought that was going to happen, and then I think internally there must have been some kind of like, well, this team had just won the Champions League, why would we turn it over? Which is naive to the issues that we saw across the whole of last season, bar that second half of the campaign's Champions League run on its own, which also had problems in it, as we know, because they had to keep fighting from behind. So yeah, really interesting to see what happens this summer, I think, because I think there will be a lot of incomings and outgoings, and obviously there's already been rumours about, you know, some of the players that might be on the way out and some that could be coming in, like Georgia Stanway possibly and things. So there are good signs that they're catching up with that idea, but yeah, season too late.
Oh dear, Susie, my ears are burning because me and I speak about recruitment a lot with the Arsenal ladies. We're very vocal. I mean, to be honest, one of the names you mentioned, and I'm sort of going to bring come on to her, because one thing for me I've complained about with this Arsenal lady side is there is not enough pace. And there's actually one player that I said And it came true, believe it or not, because I remember watching her last season when she absolutely ripped Katie McCabe to shreds in the FA Cup game at Meadow Park, and that was Olivia Smith, and that was my signing. I wanted her, so that's the one I want to come to Arsenal. But also a wider thing, Susie, really as well. Sort of a two-part question. I think she's been a brilliant signing. She's still very, very young, still very, very raw. You've seen flashes in the games that I've gone to this season that she is stardust. She's our maverick player. She gives us something very, very different. But in terms of the recruitment, Susie, to come to you with that is, I remember Jackie Oatley saying, I said this to Sophie and Demian in a group chat. She was on Sunday Supplement, and she couldn't believe that Arsenal didn't lock down somebody like Sam Coffey. I'm still a little bit, maybe a little bit annoyed about that, but that's another story, another show. But Arsenal acting slowly. This is something not very new, and I don't know what they're waiting for. I know you mentioned about the wage structure, but would you be happy with potential signings coming in like Una Bashiel and Georgia Stanway, or is that not enough for you in terms of what Arsenal may have in terms of Taylor Hines and Olivia Smith?
And can I just add to what Albert said? Because I had a conversation with Sam Coffey.
Yes.
2 weeks ago, Sheep Leagues Cup? Yeah.
Very, very enlightening.
And I asked her about signing for Arsenal because previously, after we just won the Champions League and the US women's team have gotten together, there was a joint presser with Coffey and Foxy, and we were having a bit of a laugh about her joining Arsenal. She really wanted to play for Arsenal. And she said that Arsenal didn't show as much of a pathway. They were interested, but they didn't show enough. And Manchester City showed, she used the word professionalism in a way, Susie. Just to
I can believe it, which is depressing, right? Like, and I think there needs to be some kind of shake-up in that process. And I think there has been a little bit of change internally in the way recruitment is done, but I don't know what really that looks like. And, you know, I think we're going to see how effective that is come the summer, you would hope. But it's, yeah, I mean, it's disappointing, right? Like to hear players that really wanted to come say those kind of things and indicate that they, you know, kind of were ready and would have obviously kind of massively improved the side. And I hesitate because, you know, I was told about a player who was really, really keen on coming and who basically, felt very, very let down. I won't say who, by the sort of lack of intent, let's say, to bring them in. And yeah, I think that happens not irregularly, which is really disappointing. And we do need to see some change. We do need to see.
Well, it is disappointing considering our pedigree as a club in the women's game.
Exactly that. I completely agree.
Yeah, you can't just live on past glories. If you like, if you're the
now.
pioneers, if you're the pioneers, and why does Arsenal take forever to do X, but you release a new clothing line every 2 weeks? Like that takes so much. That takes so much money and planning and red tape to get this done, like months prior. How can you not sit down and figure this out? Like, I don't know what Claire Wheatley does. I don't know what Jodie Taylor is doing. Like, no Arsenal Women podcast would be complete if I didn't mention Viviana Miedema and Daniela van der Donk. But like,
there it is. I win, Albert. $20.
Don't shake your head. Don't shake your head, Albert. I'm going to block you from social media. If they did what they did to Viv, let's just say, right? How they did it, how we perceive it as an outsider. I would guess that if you're another player and you say, well, if they do that to Viv Miedema, what makes me feel comfortable that they won't do it to me? Or if they freeze somebody out, what, you know? So I think there's a lot going on at Arsenal that, as you said, Susie, the Champions League win was like, and I wrote about this, like, it was never a thing. We got lucky. And of course, the women deserve it. They played super well, and they beat teams against all odds. And I'm really happy for them. I got a damn tattoo of the whole thing. But there's just something that is just missing there that I think rears its ugly head via the transfers and what Albert has always said, pace. and you get one player and that's it, it's just not enough. And there's just a lot of stuff going on that I just think there's something big
Demian,
that
to
we're
add to
not
that
seeing.
as well. To add to that, it's a great point. Susie's like to throw it back to you. I mean, you obviously can say what you want to say or not say, but is there a leadership issue in certain positions at Arsenal off the pitch, in your humble opinion?
Potentially. I mean, I think there's enough signs to indicate that there have been problems, and maybe some kind of personal change at the top wouldn't be amiss. Like, I think I made it very clear on the Guardian Football Weekly that if I was Arsenal, I would have literally thrown everything at Paul Green to bring him in, like knowing what that man did at Chelsea and the role he played recruitment wise, and the like long-term strategy that him and Emma Hayes had of going after players sort of 3 or 4 years behind you when you think you're going to get them, and literally like being that kind of patient in approach, and really like constantly thinking numerous windows ahead of time about who you're bringing in. And like, it's disappointing, right? Because last season, like after the Champions League win, we announced Olivia Smith, record signing, world record signing, or UK record signing, whatever it was, and first £1 million signing, all of that, and then you think, oh, fantastic, this is kickstarting something across this summer, and then nothing more comes other than Taylor Hines as well. Like, that's it. And that's so disappointing. And it's like,
Especially as
symbolic of
Chelsea
it,
kind of
right?
went on. Well, how long after that did Chelsea then break the record? When,
It was broken like twice afterwards within
Yeah.
quick succession, wasn't it? That's the
Yeah.
thing. So it's not like it was, you know, we've been waiting for the moment when Arsenal outbid other teams for a player. That happens, and then we stop again, and just sort of let other teams outbid us. And yet I mean, yes, if you look at the finances of the club, the parent company, Arsenal, put a lot of money into the women's team, but in terms of like the women's team revenue from like match day attendances and things like that, it's higher than any other club, right? We are the best in England, at least, possibly in Europe, at making money from our fan base, and from the ticket sales and things
There's
like
that
that.
StreamYard clap again, everyone.
Come on. Well done, Susie. Lay down the law. Come on, Susie. Fantastic.
That's the only trophy we can hold up at this stage. So, like,
Yes.
other than our Champions League from last season, which we will hold up for, well, until the next final at least. But like, I think that is something that should be being put back into investment in the playing squad in a much more serious way, and we should be driving it. And if we had had an incredible summer spend, would those attendances have been an extra 5,000-10,000 every single week on it, like with people excited about what's come through the door and things? Quite possibly, right? You have to sort of, like, business 101, spend money to make money. Like, it's not rocket science. And so I think there is like questions to be asked about how Arsenal handling their transfer business. Obviously, I agree with Demi, and like, it breaks my heart every time I see Viv score for City or smile in a baby blue shirt. I'm going to be delighted for her if she wins the league with them, as we expect them to do, because like, I genuinely like enjoy seeing her happy, because she's such phenomenal talent and such a nice person. Like, I've interviewed her loads, and so we talked about outspokenness earlier, right? Like, she's got that column in the Netherlands that is, she's just no like holds barred on what she will attack, be it like homophobia, be it decision making, the quality of referees, Qatar, like you name it. She is like so confident in herself, her voice, what she wants to represent, and like, I've got so much time and respect for her, and I don't ever want to see a situation like that happen again at Arsenal. And
That's a
like,
gutting
preventative measures for how you do that, I would love to see a real like deep internal review, and I'm sure that work has been done, but to what extent changes have been made, I don't know. I don't know what, kind of how they view that incident, whether there is much reflection on it. I don't know how much Renee is able to impact that side of things, because I know that recruitment is quite separate from what Renee does now, and it's deliberately been done because it's one of the criticisms that Montemuro had, that Eidevall had, that there was a lot on them to do beyond the coaching, and they had to be involved in quite a lot of aspects of the work. And what they've done is they've removed Renee from the recruitment process a little bit, other than in coming in when they've got players to sort of present as options to her, and she gets a say in at a kind of a middle stage, rather than sort of kind of having to do the legwork of finding the players and all that kind of stuff. So like there's positives to that, but then there's also, and it frees her up to do the other stuff. It frees her up to work on culture. It frees her up to work on the coaching. It frees her up to focus on those kind of things. But then if it's the same people doing the recruitment, then is there an issue there? So like, I don't know, like at this stage, I'm kind of like reserving judgment, because I want to kind of see how these changes pan out, how Jodie Taylor's change of role and the sort of redistribution of roles, which I know has happened, impacts this summer, and what kind of level of seriousness it's approached with, and also then what the ownership are doing as well. Like, how much are they willing to put into this team now? Like, what's going on there? Like, will they stump up the cash? Because there's only so much you can do if they say, well, no, we can't break this wage structure, we're not giving you any more money than this and this. If you do that, this player's gonna say, I want my pay doubled. Like, that's, because I also I don't like the idea of a really imbalanced squad financially as well, like in terms of what, when you hear some of the money that players are going on, if Kat Macario's wage is true and she rocks into that team and everyone around her is earning significantly less, what does that say about the dynamic of the group and like the camaraderie there, right? Like there's going to be resentment, it's inevitable, and that I find difficult. And the players will probably say, oh no, we're professionals, we get it, blah blah blah. But if they're ambitious players and if they have like self-respect and value themselves as players, they will be irritated by that, and that cannot not have an impact. So like, I'm in favor of some kind of structure, but like I think pace of the game, we should be leading the way that structure is kind of being pushed up. We should be setting the agenda instead of being led in terms of like what the highest like wages evaluations of players are for. Well, that said, like obviously Michelle Kang and London City and like are massively distorting things with some of the bids they're putting in for players, which doesn't help, and you kind of have to sort of almost like remove them from the conversation and go like, come on, we've got to be a little bit sensible here. But yeah,
they're like the Blackburn Rovers of the Premier League, aren't they?
Exactly.
Can I jump in really quick? Suzy, you said something really. Everything you said is interesting, but like I'm thinking that women's football as a whole, and you as a historian, by the way, if you guys have not read Suzy's book, The Rise and Fall and Rise Again of Women's Football, right? Am I saying that correctly? It's unbelievable book.
I'll put the link in the description. You can find the link in the description.
It's just an outstanding book in every way, and I feel like, as you know more than anybody, there have been different cycles, right, of women's football. And it feels like we are in this thing post-Lionesses exploding and things growing overnight and yada, yada, yada. There'll be people in the squad, exactly like what you're alluding to. Let's just say you are a Kim Little, who, if you gave anything more to the sport, she would literally be a football, right? Like, there's just, I don't know what else she can do, right? And then you have a young player from, it could be Sophia Smith or whoever, or Olivia Smith, excuse me, and they're earning way more than her because of sort of the historical period. That I don't know if resentment is. No,
Demian, just to jump in, this is true because covering Major League Soccer, and especially when David Beckham, LA Galaxy, the money he was on compared to even someone like Rodgers, who was kind of becoming a little bit of an icon. He was the first player to come out and stuff like that. There were players on that team that were earning 65 grand a year, 70 grand a year.
That's nuts.
Like for people to say it doesn't like matter, it matters. It matters to us.
Yeah.
Like if we're in a team together and we're pretty much all doing the same job, but of course, if you've got a higher profile, I expect you to earn more money. But it can't be that disparaging. There was a guy back then, I think I don't know if it was, he was a pool cleaner on the side to make extra money. So what you're saying is, Susie, in terms of that gap, you can't have that when you're asking players, right, to play in the Champions League, to play in the League Cup, to play in the WSL, right? You can't. It's not a charity. It's just not. It's crazy to me that we're here, and yet Arsenal still find ways to win. They still find ways to win trophies despite all of these challenges. So if we can swing it back now to the game, let's get everyone's final thoughts and predictions on any chance Lucy Bronze is injured, Susie?
Well, I mean, they only had eight outfield players training today, Chelsea, although Sonia was like very, very funny in her press conference. I don't know if you've seen the quotes where she was said, when she was asked about that, she was like, "Are we not playing World Sevens tomorrow?" Like, that's why I've only got 8 players ready. And was quite dismissive. Like, she was basically saying, obviously there's times in the season where you have more players available for full training and less, and it's about loading and managing players. And sometimes players will sit out training at times to preserve them for matches and things like that. And there are players in individual programs and stuff. So there's clearly more players available than that. But obviously, in an ideal world, you have all of your players in training. So there clearly is issues there. But obviously, we've got our own. Leah's not going to play. We don't know how Olivia Smith is doing at the moment. Like, we're sort of waiting to find out whether she is in with a chance of making it. Obviously, the Australians for both teams have all been ruled out entirely. They've all said, Renee and Sonia have both said it's too soon. So it's really going to be interesting to see, I think, how tactically the managers manage these players through this fixture and next week's fixture, particularly with the games in between as well, obviously, and how they use the benches and lean on those. I feel like we've got the stronger available set of players, but Chelsea is Chelsea. I would never ever bet against Chelsea in knockout competitions ever. Like, I just wouldn't, and I would bet on us as well in a lot of them, but like, I would also never ever bet against Chelsea. So it's really hard to say. I can't predict this game. I struggle big time to predict this game, and like, in the same way that I struggled with the Women's League Cup final to predict between Chelsea and United, because my head said it would be United, that this was the time to put Chelsea to the sword and for United to really make a statement. And then the other part of my head, because it wasn't my heart, said that you never ever bet against Chelsea in a cup final. So I struggle to kind of work out what on earth is going to happen. I just hope the Emirates is buzzing, which it will be. I've just seen there's some email that's gone out with details of a light show that you've got to download some app for and stuff. Like, I'm here for all of that. Like,
we're going Coldplay on everyone.
I also think we could absolutely dominate noise-wise at Stamford Bridge as well. So if we could do that, then we've got a real advantage, because I do think that does make a big difference, and there's nothing like under the lights and a real vibrant crowd under the lights in an evening for a Champions League fixture. So I'm I have hope, but I also want to stamp down that hope and bury it, and then set fire to everything on top of it, and then if I get to dig that hope up again at the end of it, and then transfer it to a new little grave for ahead of the semi-final, great. But then if I don't and it stays there buried, then at least my expectations were low. So that's the way I always approach Arsenal games.
I love it. Susie, I hope that it's going to be a case of Albert and Demian as well. Yeah, Albert's going to be there, and I hope that our pedigree rises. So it's a little bit like in the league, we've lost our crown, and we show it. Right, we don't believe we're the kings of the WSL, the league, like we had been in years past. In Europe, I feel like we can still wear that crown. And it was a little bit like yesterday, the way Mikel was looking at Pep when they were picking up the Carabao Cup. You didn't believe it. The way I saw you looking at him when he was getting the trophy and you were clapping, I'm not sure you were ready to beat him, and he's got that pedigree. And I'm hoping that
I didn't think the players believed it. That was the problem, right? Like they just didn't look like they believed they could win that game, which baffled me.
But this team last season in this competition, I like, again, like whatever magic Renee weaved, they believed it, and you could see it, and we believed it from the quarter to the semi to the final. So I hope with Chelsea they have that inferiority complex in Europe, and sometimes that comes into play. And having the first, I like that we're playing the first game at home as well.
And so just to jump off the back of that, I think a massive thing, because Arsenal hadn't beaten Chelsea in the WSL for a long time. I think at Stamford Bridge, so that was a big monkey off their back. And Suzy, it'd be interesting to ask you actually, because me personally, Demian and Sophie, you probably agree, and probably because it's a London rival, I like a bit of needle. And Aaron Cufford made some comments last season that I still haven't forgot, to be honest with you. I haven't forgot, and I'll never forget it, to be honest with you. I actually hope there's a bit of that kind of
edge.
Edge. I was going to say dislike, but no, I'll go with edge. But I think that Arsenal beating them in the WSL was massive. And
great point.
I don't think they've got anything to fear against Chelsea. I think Arsenal are a better footballing side, if I'm going to be honest, in my own humble opinion. There's a vulnerability about Chelsea, and I take your point, Suzy, in terms of you can never write them off, but I do think Arsenal definitely. I'll go with tomorrow's game because I'll be there and I'll be shouting through the rooftops while I'm there and watching light performances and the rest of it. But I do think Arsenal have a slight edge, definitely going into the first leg. But I just want to ask you, Suzy, in terms of like a rivalry, and you covering Arsenal for a long time, particularly when it comes to Chelsea, do you feel it? Do you feel that edge? Do you feel there's a bit of a dislike there between both clubs?
Oh, I love it. I think they love it as well. All
Suzy.
the players love it. The players like really enjoy it and enjoy the fight and the fieriness of it. And like I think there's like even a little bit of joy in seeing Tottenham start to become a sort of better organised club on the women's football side, and then becoming more serious challengers, because then we get more of that, right? We get more of that needle and more of those like exciting derbies and stuff, and like, I think that's what we like watching. I love it. I live for it. And like I agree, like Aaron Cuthbert comments, I feasted on those after that Champions League win. Like, after we lifted that trophy, the trophy they wanted more than anything, I feasted on those comments at the same time, and I will enjoy every game we play against them and win. At the same time, as a journalist, obviously I have interviewed many of those Chelsea players, including Aaron Cuthbert. She is a wonderful human being, and I've got this way of compartmentalizing sort of my fandom of the women's team. She is so unbelievably nice. I remember one of the first times I interviewed her, it was arranged through Chelsea, and they had given me a very, very small time slot, and her first question took up her answer to the first question took up 75% of our time slot, and we had to go way longer than the time slot they had given, because like obviously I couldn't just have her answer one question. But she's so personable, funny, chatty, talkative. She's a lawyer, right? Like she's a qualified lawyer. So many of them. Millie Bright, right? Like interviewing her one-on-one on like her nephew and his ADHD and autism, and why she wants to do stuff in the community in that area, like was so like moving and interesting. And there's so many. Sonia Bonpastor, wonderful human being, love speaking to her, I would say there's not a single player in that Chelsea team that I dislike, that I've spoken to. Like every single person is eloquent, is intelligent, they're all thinkers, they're great. I love beating them though. I love smashing them, because I'm able to compartmentalize that in the same way that I also, can criticize Arsenal to high heaven. In fact, probably do more so than any other team, because I want them to be better. But like it's weird. It's so weird, because like as you're saying that, I'm like, yes, like those Aaron Cuthbert comments, I was like, come on, guys, drink her tears out of that Champions League trophy outside the Emirates Stadium. And at the same time, I'm like, she is the loveliest human being, and I like adore her. And those comments feed the narrative that I adore, and like she's such a good person. And I love having those two like little like both devils on my shoulder,
on your shoulders,
saying the different things.
I love that.
And I love that like that firiness. But yeah, the grit, the battle is just delicious.
I love it. You know what's interesting before we wrap here is Demian and I talk about this a lot. Couldn't stand Emma Hayes. Of course, she's Chelsea boss and she's bloody good. We couldn't stand it. Our WhatsApp group would be on fire. Now she's manager of the US women's national team, and I get to speak to her on a regular. Of course, I love her. She's amazing. And when you were talking about like recruitment, director of football stuff, I was like, maybe we're saving Paul for the Emma Hayes era. Hey, come on, everyone. Put it out there.
I love that you love Emma Hayes because I adore her. Like, I've interviewed her so many times, and but it's not even just the way she talks. The amount of respect she had for us as journalists was like beyond anyone else. Like, she would, and the trust she had in us, right? Like, there was years and years ago, like I want to say 2018, 2019, something like that, ahead of a Champions League game against Lyon, I think it was semi-final or something, she had me and 2 other journalists into her office down in Cobham, and basically ahead of the game gave us a tactical breakdown of what she was going to do against Lyon. And there was an understanding there. We were going to write about it, but we weren't going to write the detail of what they were going to do, right? Like, we weren't going to give away their game plan,
right?
But we could talk about the like ethos of it, of like the fact that she literally, which was there for more than an hour with us, leapt up from behind the desk, is up on the tactic board going, and so we want to double up on Amandine Henry, but then you've got Eugenia Summer over here, and then she's free, and then you think, well, okay, well, I'm going to move this player over to deal with that, but then you've got this, and we're like trying to fit essentially like 11 players dealing with what feels like 15 players. And like the way she kind of broke it down for us was just like beyond fascinating. And then there was this trust, because that was ahead of the game. No one else really does that kind of stuff. And then like after press conferences, she would just stop and chat. She would just sit on a table in front of us, and she would like just shoot the shit on the state of the game, on the decisions that were being made, and trusted us, didn't have to say it, not to publish that because it's after the press conferences, off the record, and we're just having a chat, and she's just giving us her thoughts and feelings on like various different things, and we could ask her stuff honestly. And there's something just so refreshing about that. And it's quite an old school attitude and old school trust that I think has gone a little bit. I think press officers are a bit too safe sometimes, a little bit too worried that we're going to try and trip them up, when oftentimes we're not. Like, if we're given some background information that is, you know, that we're not supposed to say, we're not going to say it because it will jeopardize that relationship, right? Like, obviously there's, you know, we get told things that you have to publish and stuff, and, you know, transfer stories and all that kind of thing, they're all, you know, part of the game kind of thing. But, you know, when we're told something by someone, like candidly off the record, we're not going to breach that trust. But there's a lack of understanding of that amongst most. But Emma Hayes is just like lovely human being, like grew up on a council estate like me. I did a big deep dive on her where I spoke to this, obviously her dad's died a couple of years ago, very sadly, but like I spoke to him and her sisters and her old coaches and things for a big piece ahead of the Champions League final that they were in, and it was just fascinating. And then off the back of that, I had so much content when I was asked to be involved in a book called Football She Wrote, which is like an anthology of different female writers on football, so not just women's football, men's football too, but women writers. I did a longer version of that article and a slightly more political version as well, because I was talking a lot about like growing up on a council estate, because I grew up on a council estate, she grew up on a council estate, and learning a lot about her background, and then like understanding how that informs the way she manages players and people and her attitude towards the game. And like yeah, my chapter was based around that. And yeah, I just think she's just phenomenal, incredibly talented, like manager.
Suzy, I love those insights and those anecdotes, and I appreciate them so much more now. I think as you get older as well, and this business that we're in, this craft or whatever, and you know, what tribalism is a huge thing, rivalry is a huge thing, of course. You know, you love George Graham, he goes to manage Tottenham, you love George Graham, right? Emma Hayes, you loathe her there. And you're right about her. Honestly, of all the people that I've sat in a presser, you know, from Emma to other big women in the game to like big managers, there's something about her where she totally respects the journalist's job. And I don't think there are a lot of people like that in football. There's certainly not a lot of director of communications and publicists within the space of football that understand the value of the journalist these days, because everything's so quick headline, but she appreciates still long form, whether it's an essay, whether it's an article, she's a very special person in this game. And I hope that she is Arsenal manager one day, more so than Lionesses. I hope that she, after the US women's national team, and it's no slight on Renee, I hope Renee's super successful and has this job forever and ever. I would love Emma to be Arsenal manager one day. I think it would be biblical.
Be great. It'd be great homecoming, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, given that she's a massive Tottenham fan, I could see her ending up there if they continue
and building a new Arsenal.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who's amazing. Suzy Wrack, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, come on, everyone. Put your hands together. Where'd you get this kind of stuff? You don't really get it anywhere, do you?
Yes.
Bring it. Standing ovation for Suzy. If you are not listening to the Guardian Football Weekly podcast with Suzy and Faye, then I don't know what's wrong with you. Just go see the doctor, because you need to be listening to this show. And we love it. We love you, Suzy. What have you got coming up? Tell the truth.
Oh, it's a great question. I mean, I'm running from game to game at the minute, which is very stressful. So obviously I'm at Arsenal-Chelsea tomorrow night. I am at a family wedding this weekend, so missing the WSL fixtures, which is quite nice. And then straight into international break, and I'm doing both. I'm at the England-Spain game. I'm not covering it. I'm there with my cousin, which is nice. And then I'm going to Iceland for the England-Iceland game, and then straight into the Women's Champions League semi-finals when we know who's in them, which will either be delicious or very, very painful. Although there is something quite nice about having no skin in the game sometimes. Like, no one wants to sit next to me in a press box when Arsenal are playing a big fixture or a final or something, because they all know that they're going to get like a very, very stressed running commentary of oh, fuck my life through the game, and end it now, please. And, you know, they will kind of take bets in the WSL journalist WhatsApp group as to kind of where I'm going to go next with my, like, expletives and depression. So, like,
I'll join you.
Neutral games.
Can I say that I went to Zurich to watch the Dutch against the Lionesses, and
how much you enjoy that game, huh?
I was in the family section. No, it's good. It was beautiful. I was in the family section with, like, literally their parents, grandmothers. It was insane, and we lost 5-0. And I would look up behind me, and I would see Suzy Wrack in the press box, just like. and then I saw her later that night, and she I don't even know how to say the word in English. Comforted me. Yeah. And it was the only person that I could have wanted to see in the football world after that demolishing and the most awkward day of my life as a fan. So Suzy is an angel.
Yeah, perfect. Well, look, you make sure you follow Suzy at Suzy Wrack. Great stuff from her, The Guardian, and the podcast as well. Follow Demian Arriaga on Instagram, and of course, make sure you sign up to his women's blog. And of course, Mr. Albert JTV on YouTube, and then that is his X handle. Always talk. These two guys, I tell you, Suzy, I love them, because you and I have talked a lot about the women's game is stronger and will continue to get stronger, especially with the support of men. And we all have to do this together. And Albert and Demian have just been day one on Highbury Squad, like, so behind our women's team. And I love it when they want to talk about the women's team more than the men's team, especially as we know Demian. I mean, there's just no doubt about that.
It's great, isn't it? It's great.
Yeah,
and, like, I think
best.
that's the reason the fan base and the club is in the position it is at the moment, because, like, we've got so many, like, fantastic advocates in the fan base for this team who genuinely give a damn. It's not, like, fake. It's like Ian Wright's, like, love of the women's team, right? Like, you believe it.
Yeah, 100%. It is not, it's organic. It's totally organic. All right, kids, we hope you enjoyed this show. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, remember to subscribe so you don't miss classics like this. Susie, thank you. Good luck to our Arsenal women tomorrow night. We'll all be watching. Albert will be there, so look out for his post-match report right here on Squad Central and Albert JTV. Until next time, don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. At ease, Squaddies, at ease. Come on, you Gunners.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.